living here in Australia was challenging, but I guess I had the determination that I'm gonna do better. I gave up so many times, but the next day I wake up, I'm able to do it. I had this power that I don't know where I got it.
Yeah.
It is just whenever I think of where I was and who I am now, it's just incredible to me. I don't know, but and I'm happy that I can inspire my siblings and other young people from my community to do better.
You're listening to Who is My Neighbour, a podcast by You Belong Australia. Each episode, you'll join with Sorgul and Warren to meet some of Australia's newest neighbours. You'll hear their stories, listen to their hopes and dreams, and discover the incredible courage and inspiration they bring to our communities and richly diverse Australian culture. You'll also learn from some more established Aussies too, and the joy they've found living and working alongside our refugee and migrant background neighbours. Welcome to episode 2 of Who is My Neighbour, and today we get to hear the story of Sorgul Maho, who is a co-host of the podcast, and it was Rachel Carter who sat down with Sorgul to talk to her to get a bit of a background on her life, her experiences, particularly as a former refugee that has recently moved here. But also hear her story about why she's excited to be part of this podcast. And Rachel, can you just what was your takeaway from your conversation with her?
Yeah, takeaway from my conversation. I've known Sourghal from the moment she came to Toowoomba, and it's been an absolute privilege to watch her as she's journeyed through, integrating into Toowoomba, and she has just blown us away with her achievements and her courage and strength as she, learnt all about a new society and a new way of living, and also consolidating her English language skills. So I was really inspired again. I'm always inspired by Sourghal, but inspired again to just listen to what she has achieved. But also inspired by her desire to serve her community, and to also, and not just the Yazidi community that she's a part of, or the refugee community, but also the Australian community, and helping her fellow former refugees integrate into society. So yeah, I'm really excited to share her story with everyone.
Yeah.
And I know that you'll definitely have some big takeaways from what she's been through and what she's been able to achieve since she came.
Yeah, we are so thrilled to have her co-hosting the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing to appear on a podcast, a video podcast at that, to put your hand up and say, yes, I'm gonna do this on a regular basis. And for her, she talks about why. Again, it comes, like you said, comes back to she just wants to share stories and learn, and her willingness to serve. It's going to be great. You're going to be inspired by her story, and we're just so thankful you get to meet her. So why don't we head right away to this conversation that you had with Sorgul Maho.
Great. Hi, Sorgul.
Hey, Rachel.
How are you today?
Good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for coming in today for our second episode of Who is My Neighbour?
Thank you.
Which is actually the podcast that you will be co-hosting with Warren.
Yeah, I'm so excited to start.
Oh, awesome. We're excited to hear some of the stories that we want to share.
Yeah.
We've already heard a little bit about Warren in the previous episode, but we were wanting to hear a little bit about you today, and about your story and how you came to be sitting here with me. Yeah.
Wow. So I come from Northern Syria, from a city called Afrin. And I came to Australia in 2018. Just some people think that I've been here for a long time, but it's actually not.
Because your English is so good, I think.
Yeah. So back in Syria, I did English language and literature. I was halfway through. Then with the civil war, I just left everything, and we left to Turkey, where I lived for 4 years with my family. And then, as I mentioned before, in 2018, I came to Australia as a refugee. Yeah, and it all started from there.
I actually remember the very day that you came to Australia.
Yep.
I was fortunate enough to actually go out to the airport with you. Oh, sorry, go out to the airport to pick you up
Yes.
off the plane. And tell me a bit about that day. How did you
Wow.
feel?
It was, look, the flight from Turkey to Australia was a long one. It was like about 18 hours. And during these 18 hours, I had so many thoughts in my mind. I was like, how is it going to be?
Yeah.
You know, before coming to Australia, I contacted some of the universities here, and I even contacted TAFE. And I was like, I always have this idea in my mind that I want to study, but how?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be possible. Maybe there are going to be some difficulties. The language could be a barrier. So this is what I was thinking about in the 18 hours that I
Yeah.
on the way to Australia, and even from Sydney to Toowoomba. I was like, how is it going to be? Who are the people that are going to be waiting in the airport for us? And yeah, we got there. So many people waiting there to
Yes.
welcome us, and you were one of them. And I was very lucky to have met you on that day.
Oh, well, I feel like I was lucky. But it was a beautiful experience because you had so much family that were here
Yes.
waiting for you to come. So
Yeah.
you mentioned you were thinking about university on that plane trip.
Yep.
And you're actually studying at USQ
Yes.
now.
Mhm.
What are you studying?
Now I'm a second year student doing international relations.
Wow.
Yeah, it took me a little while to decide what I want to
Yeah.
study, because I started with the English programs there pretty much straight away after I arrived. I guess about 6 weeks after I arrived. And yeah, after doing those English courses, I decided that I'm going to do international relations. Yeah.
Awesome. And what are some of your other dreams and aspirations now that you're here in Toowoomba in Australia?
Mm.
And what have you achieved so far? Because I know you've got a few things there that you've done.
Yeah, that's right. So I did few things, let's say. I mainly do interpreting and translation to languages Arabic and Kurdish into English and the other direction. And coming to Australia with, let's say, good English, I'm not going to say it that good, but
you
good
did have
English.
Good English.
It was a really great opportunity to be able to support my community, especially with, I guess my community started, we started having people here in Toowoomba from my community, the Kurdish Yazidi community, since 2017 or maybe a little bit before that. So we didn't have so many people who speak Kurdish Kurmanji to be able to support the community.
Yeah.
And that was a great thing, to be able to support them straight away once I arrived here. And yeah, so since then I've been involved in the community, helping with translation, interpreting. I also support students and get to help them at university, especially students from my community. And it's great to see them chasing their dreams, growing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do also teach Kurdish to others here, to Australian people. It's great to see how many people are interested in learning Kurdish Kurmanji to be able to communicate with the community. Being able to give time and effort in learning a language that you have never heard of before, meeting those people. So it's just great to see those people are interested in learning it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your ability to speak the English that you could when you came here was definitely an advantage for you.
Yes.
What were some of the biggest challenges, though, of settling in Toowoomba?
Look, even with being able to speak the language of the new country that you've just arrived in, it makes it easy, but it is still challenging because it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
It's a new lifestyle. You get to see people from different parts of the world here in Australia that sometimes countries that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Different cultures, and it is sometimes overwhelming to face all these challenges and meet all these new people. Especially that back in Turkey, I was working there. I didn't get to meet lots of people, and it was a pretty difficult experience. The 4 years living in Turkey. So living here in Australia was challenging, but I guess I had the determination that I'm gonna do better. I gave up so many times, but the next day I wake up, I'm able to do it. I had this power that I don't know where I got it.
Yeah.
It is just whenever I think of where I was and who I am now, it's just incredible to me. I don't know,
Yeah.
but and I'm happy that I can inspire my siblings and other young people from my community to do better.
You definitely are an inspiration for sure. And yeah, thanks for sharing part of your story so that
you.
people can hear that you can actually achieve so much when you come here.
Yeah.
You've actually started your own business, haven't
Yes.
you, since arriving in Australia? Tell us about that.
So we started recently with a friend of mine that we have been working for 2 years now. So our main goal was to help the community,
Yeah.
with the language barrier. Sometimes they don't get to meet with people, or when they want to seek advice and help with basic things like filling out forms, trying to understand some things that they don't know. It's a whole, as I said, new world, new system.
Yeah.
So we help with that part, and I also help with interpreting when it requires. So yeah, our main goal is to support them, to help them get to where they want to be.
Yeah.
And till that time, we're here to always support them.
That's fantastic that they've got someone like you in their community to help them out. Yep. And you've even interpreted for You Belong at our welcome picnics and done an amazing job there. And so yeah, the community is very grateful to have you along. That's for sure.
Rachel, it's great because when you have the skills that you can help with, so why not sharing what you know? And it's great to meet new people, especially at those You Belong picnics. It was great to meet so many people getting together from Australian people and from the refugee community, make friendships. It was just fascinating to see how many Australian people get to see them. They take phone numbers and they say, let's catch up later. I mean, they don't speak English, but they still see friends there.
Yeah. And I guess that was the whole concept behind the picnics, was because Australians, well, the core Australian community really do want to welcome, new neighbours. And so that's a starting point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great because so many people don't know who these people are. I mean, living next to a neighbor that is from a refugee background, sometimes they don't know what they have been through and what they are doing in their life right now. So I guess it's a great opportunity to being able to meet those people and give them the chance to speak and to talk about their own experiences, and also share their hopes. Tell them, hey, and people who have been through trauma, they have seen a lot in their life, and they're still able to chase their dreams, to do a lot and start a new life here. So I guess it's an inspiration for so many people to hear those stories and get to know more about this, the refugee community in general.
For sure. I'm really excited to hear some of those stories over the next few episodes. What are you looking forward to most about the Who Is My Neighbour podcast?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I'm involved in the community, but I want to learn more, or I want to hear the stories of the people that I haven't met yet. I hear a lot about their everyday life, what challenges they face, but I want to hear more about what they are doing to kind of like face those challenges and do better in their life. I've heard so many stories, but I want to hear more. I want to hear and get inspired by those great people.
Awesome. Well, I think this podcast is definitely going to do that, and tell the world a little about who our neighbours are here in Toowoomba, especially. So thank you so much for coming along and meeting and sitting down with us and telling us a bit about your story.
Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to the podcast and meeting new people and listening to hearing their stories.
That's awesome. Thanks, Sorgul.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Who Is My Neighbour. To learn more about the work of You Belong Australia, just head to youbelong.org.au and find out all the ways you can get involved and empower refugees to integrate and thrive. Lastly, would you help support this podcast simply by sharing it with others? You can also write a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or subscribe to us on YouTube. Yes, we are a video podcast as well. Well, thanks again for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Who is My Neighbour?